is something very important that I need to say. So since I started doing these videos back in August, I get information as I'm going along, and people are sending me messages constantly, and I'm learning so much about HIV in the world and how everything's taken care of around the world. What I originally didn't really know enough of when I made, I think it was my second video, spoke about medication and how much it costs. And I probably left it a little bit wide open that it's possible for you to pay full price for this. That is not what I'm finding at all. The women on my group are a great example of this because they're from all over the place. And so I've been able to check in with literally all of them. I know that nobody pays for it out of pocket. Nobody. So here's a list of the countries that I know of for sure that they don't pay anything, or if they do, it's a very, very, very small amount. It's just whatever you can afford, or it's a copay. Nobody's paying for HIV medication. Why it's so important for everybody to know this out there is because there's 40 million people living with HIV currently in the world. There are 2 million new cases every year, and believe me, I feel it because the messages never stop. The problem is that some people don't want to test because they're terrified that if they have it, they won't have enough money to take care of the medication. That isn't an issue. You need to test. The only way to get this virus under control is for people to test, to know they have it, so they can be put on medication, they become undetectable, and then they can't pass the virus on anymore. 1 out of every 8 people that have it know they have it. That means 7 out of 8 that have it don't know they have it, which means they are continuing to spread it. That could have been me. Thankfully, I didn't give it to anybody. But the person that gave it to me didn't know he had it. So this is very common. This is why HIV keeps moving on, because the people that have it don't know they have it. For the most part. Of course, there's some really horrible people in the world who know they have it and they don't care and they're passing it on, which is a crime in some parts of the world. So if we test, then we can get on medication and we can stop passing on the virus. Here are the countries that I know of that they don't pay anything. And I'm sure there's a lot of other countries that I'm just not, I mean, there's a lot of countries in the world. But these are the ones that I know for sure that you don't have to pay anything, or if it's, you have to pay something, it's a very, very small amount. Canada, the Philippines, Mexico, the US, the UK, Jamaica, Spain, Africa, I'm going to go with South Africa right now, and Kenya. I know for sure those areas, they don't have to pay. I believe there's areas in obviously in Africa that are having trouble getting medication, but I know that if it gets there, obviously they wouldn't have to pay for it. Germany, France, okay, so those are just some countries that I know of for sure. Probably Japan, probably China. I'm sure they're functioning the same way we all are. There's no one that's going to have to pay for this. It's the insurance companies that have to pay for it. This medication costs too much. And there's no country that's going to make you pay and go broke to stay alive. We have to have this medication to stay alive. So please test. Please go find out if you have it, because there will be medication available to you. You just have to go to a local clinic. One of the problems, it's not paying for the medication, it's the availability of it. I have 2 people in Jamaica that I know. One is not having an issue getting their medication. The other one is. And Jamaica, it's split up by parishes. I think there's 12 altogether. This is areas in Jamaica. The one person that I know that's having trouble, she said normally she gets a 3-month supply at a time. But lately, her pharmacist has only been able to give her a week at a time, and sometimes he's not sure that it's even going to be available. That's terrifying, because with HIV medication, we have to stay on our medication. We cannot take a little break here and there. We can't take it for a day and then not take it for a day. That's not how it works. When you do that, your body can build up a resistance to the medication and then it won't work. So it's very important for us to take it every single day. So that concerns me. And I don't know any more about it other than what she just told me, and that it seems to be some kind of a shortage. So this could happen in other areas. That's the first I've heard of it in the 6 months that I've been doing this. So, you know, you guys give me information and I can put it out there and just let people know. 3 years ago, if you were to ask me what HIV medication costs, who knows? I don't know. It's nothing I ever thought about. I have no idea what it would have cost. I probably would have thought that it was very expensive also. I just wanted to say about my private page, it's like a team of superheroes. These women are amazing. And my gosh, I wish that I could just get a picture of all of them together. Of course I won't, because it's private, and a lot of them would like to stay very private, and that's obviously totally fine. But if the world could see these women that are on my page, they are so beautiful and so amazing. I've got mommies, I've got career women. These are strong, intelligent women. These are not drug users. These are not homeless women on the street. These are smart, intelligent women, and they're amazing. And they are like a second family to me, and I feel like they're my sisters from all over the world. and they're helping me with information. So I'm able to give that information back out to you guys. Again, about the medication and the cost, I was able to get information from so many of them to find out that they are all not paying or having to pay a very, very little amount. So that was really comforting to know, and I'm glad that I can pass that information on to everybody out there. I had a woman who contacted me who's in Saudi Arabia working from the Philippines, and she can't test in Saudi Arabia because if they find out that she's positive, send her back to the Philippines where she doesn't have the job that she has in Saudi Arabia. She can't make the same amount of money. So she's having a really hard time. She doesn't even know if she's positive yet, but she's having some strong symptoms, and the doctor in Saudi Arabia told her that it's a good possibility that she's positive. She connected with one of my girls in the Philippines last night to help kind of steer her on where to go when she comes to visit the Philippines, which will be soon. To be able to pass on, to help somebody else, it's been amazing to have these women be so supportive of each other, and also to be able to give me information. I can, like indirectly, I can give it out to whoever's watching. Thank you, my ladies. I love you guys. You're amazing. And oh God, I always want to cry when I think about it. I get to meet two of them really soon, and I can't wait. April 1st, I'm going to be meeting two of my girls. It's going to be awesome. There's a lot of people living with HIV in the world with so much shame and fear of others finding out that they suffer alone. It's pretty common. Two different gentlemen that I speak to, one's in the Philippines and one is in Jamaica, and they're both doing this on their own. Their families know that they've been ill, but they don't know that it's HIV. One of them has been very sick with pneumonia. They think that he has a liver condition. So it's heart-wrenching. I went through this and I needed my mom to be here for 3 weeks to take care of me. The thought of going to the doctor, having to get up and get in the car, get clothes on, brush my teeth, get myself ready to get to the doctor, that thought was overwhelming. So there are people out there that are trying to do this all by themselves without their family helping them. It's just heartbreaking to me, and it's all based on stigma. Because if this wasn't what it was as far as stigma, people would have their families there helping. They wouldn't be afraid to tell people. It would be treated completely differently. Another example is a woman in Denmark who's, she reminds me of myself. She looks like she's maybe in her late 30s. She's a mother of two. They're grown. She's been suffering for 7 months. She didn't know what was wrong with her, and she finally tested, and she was positive, and she ran home, and this was a month ago, and she said, I've been really sick, and I tested positive, and I basically told the doctors I didn't want to hear anymore. And so she left. She went home. And I didn't know what her numbers were. And I said, do you know your CD4 count? She goes, no, I told them not to tell me. I couldn't bear to hear anymore. So for the last month, this woman's been declining in her home alone because she didn't want anybody to know what was going on with her. She's so ashamed. We've been writing back and forth. I've been encouraging her to please go back to the doctor. Please go get help. Do you want me to call somebody for you? Is there anything I can do? And I knew she was getting to a point where I wasn't honestly sure if I would hear back from her because I feel like she could definitely have died. Some time went by, a few days, and I got a message from her and she was in the hospital. Thank God. She had collapsed on her floor and had to call 911. And she has PCP pneumonia. I don't know what her CD4 count is. She didn't want to know. She didn't ask. She told the doctor she didn't want to know. It's just heartbreaking. Like, I'm the only one that knows other than this, the hospital and the doctors. But her family doesn't know. Her kids don't know. She said it would be, it's like, as she explains it, it's like chaos in her head, the thought of having to tell them that it would be too hard for them. I just want anybody out there who watches these videos that is doing this by themselves, you're not alone. There's a lot of people doing this alone because they don't want anyone to know what they're going through. They don't want anyone to know they have HIV or that they're ill with AIDS. And it's all just based on stigma and shame, and that's a shame. Really. I wanted to read this letter, again, going back to people who I had the video on people freaking out about having HIV, and this is a letter from a man. Again, it just really brings it home about how people really truly feel that they have it. And fears, it literally creates symptoms that can seem like HIV when it's really not HIV. This is what he wrote. He said, I have also gone through the horror and agony of someone who has HIV. Just the idea of having it is so terrifying that no amount of money can relieve the horror of it. It all started when my ex-girlfriend confessed that she was positive. I'm so paranoid that symptoms similar to HIV like oral thrush, lung problems, diarrhea, fatigue, swollen lymph nodes, night sweats, and fears showed up weeks after weeks, thus making me totally convinced that I had contracted the virus. I felt so alone and depressed I couldn't tell anyone, not even my mom, mom about what I'm going through because she would definitely get angry when she found out. Imagine the agony of not being able to tell someone about your condition and not having the support from relatives on difficult times. I could not handle the extreme anxiety which caused me countless sleepless nights. Depression and thoughts of committing suicide creeps in, which lasted for 3 freaking months, he says. The day came when I stopped caring about HIV. Eventually, I got tired of worrying and finally decided to get myself tested because I wanted to live. I just felt so confident that day that getting a positive diagnosis wouldn't bother me at all. So I got tested and the results came in. A volunteer interviewed me and said that I was negative. And it felt like it was the best day of my life. That day, I decided to become an HIV volunteer. I have been assisting people who are suspecting themselves of contracting the virus to get tested. I'm trying really hard not to cry. I keep feeling that little lump in my throat, and I'm trying not to cry all the time in my videos because it's really easy for me to cry about this stuff. But I just thought that was an amazing story and so true and so common. So this is all the time. People go through this a lot. They really feel that their symptoms are definitely HIV. There's no doubt about it. They are 100% convinced, and they'll go months and months and months assuming that they have it, and then they test and they're not. So just test. It's the only way you can know, and you need to know. If you have it, you need to know because you need to be on medication. And if you don't have it, you need to know so you can chill out and relax and protect yourself and make sure you don't get it. Okay? So please just test, test, test. And if you don't want to go to a doctor, have it sent to your house and do it at home. But just make sure, test. Married people should be testing. If you're having unprotected sex, I know everyone thinks their spouse is perfect and wouldn't do anything behind their back, but many people get it this way. If you are having unprotected sex, you're at risk. Oh, somebody wrote to me about a medication recycle program in San Francisco. So I'll put information in the comments about it. I'm not totally sure what it's all about, but it sounds like it's like if you have, I don't know why you'd have recycled medication, but if somebody has medication they don't need anymore, they would give it to this program to help people in need. So I will definitely include that in my comments, down in the comments below. Not in the comments, in the description. It'll be down in the description. Hello. Okay, that's it.